Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel, and today we are talking about Tonix Pharmaceuticals once again. Now, if you missed the news that came out was August 15th. Tonix Pharmaceuticals, the company, announced the approval of TNX102SL and specifically the brand Tomia, the I'm no scientist, but sublingual tablets, it looks like, which was investigated as TNX102SL for the treatment of fibromyalgia in adults. Tomia is expected to be available for adult patients in the U.S. with fibromyalgia beginning in the fourth quarter of 2025. So now we have the approval. Now Tonix can start marketing, developing, they can really start to go crazy on this. And that's going to be the big growth factor with a stock like this. Now they are going to have a web conference call on August 18th, 2025. They're going to discuss the approval. They're also going to, there'll be instructions on how to access the webcast. This is on the 8K itself, and then, of course, the news comes out. So the fourth quarter, right? So it talks about the trials and everything. It talks about, there's even warnings and precautions. So the 8K has a lot of details here, and I encourage you to check it out. The news, of course, there's always all these headlines that are basically saying the same thing. They announced the FDA approval of Tomia for the treatment of fibromyalgia. And if we look at the actual price action, this is what I want to, kind of get into. So if we look at the last 7 days, today or Friday, when the stock was trading at a low of, it looks like about 40. Yeah, so the close, that was on August 15th, 41. Friday, August 15th, the close, the low, all that kind of stuff. It looks like, trying to find the peak and everything. But that's the daily chart right there. And I think it got down to about $41, right? So that was the absolute low. And if we look at the post market as well, $59.31 right there in the post market. So we did see that big jump. And what I can tell you is, from experience, expect a significant increase in volume Monday morning, especially in the pre-market. There's probably going to be, and I could be wrong, but perhaps a significant jump up or down in the pre-market. Perhaps up, and then perhaps they short it down once the market opens. I could be wrong, but I've seen this play out before where big news will come out, and then people tend to want to take profits, right, if they're up on the position, because they think it's like a sell the news type of thing. Now, that might not necessarily happen. These stocks can go parabolic quickly, especially when you're only sitting at a $450 million market cap. That can jump up quite aggressively. $450 million might seem like a lot, but in the stock market world, it's really not that much, especially on a national exchange such as the NASDAQ. So what happens Monday morning is anyone's guess, obviously. I mean, nobody can predict the stock market. And I know a lot of you guys have been asking me, and I've always said, I see this going to potentially a $3 to $5 billion market cap. At what time frame, though? I don't know if it's immediately after this news has come out. I don't know if it's a month, 2 months, 6 months down the road. Regardless, this is exciting for shareholders who have been seeking something, beneficial to happen, right? This has been the big thing that people have been waiting on. And for a lot of people who have been down on their position, this gives people some hope. But of course, $51, $59 in the post market, it was under $20 a share on this channel back last year before it went parabolic to essentially almost $200 a share after the split. So can we hit $200 a share again? I think absolutely. And if you look at the actual market cap of what that would be if we hit $200 a share, it would be probably over a $2 billion market cap. How long does that take? Like I said, it's anybody's guess. I mean, we can see it happen this week. We can see moves like that in the market. Much crazier things have happened. We can see it, next month, 6 months, a year from now. But keep an eye on the fourth quarter in particular, because the fourth quarter is really when they're going to start ramping up production. And really this starts hitting, I guess you could say, store shelves, right? Or pharmacies around the country. So this is when it gets exciting, because they are basically the only treatment in 15 years. If you look at, for example, and I've talked about the size of fibromyalgia treatment market. So these are the numbers I've kind of talked about, right? Let's just say 3 to 5 billion. It says 3 billion. I've seen estimates as high as 5 billion. Okay, this is the AI overview. This is taking it from other web sources, so keep that in mind. And then it has the approval of, here it is. So it even mentions, yeah, look at that. So it says this will even boost market expansion. So it's actually going to increase the size of the market because now there's going to be a brand new treatment. So 3 to 5 billion. Tonix is at a $400 million market cap. We can get there, right? And rather that's in the immediate term. We hit a $1 or $2 billion market cap pretty quickly and then go to 3 or 4 billion. But look at this volatility here, right? And this goes back to 2024. This is when it was over $200 a share. There's some major gaps in the chart that technically could be filled. Okay, now this right here, it did hit almost up here intraday. It basically hit like right here, pretty much filled this gap right here, but then crashed. And then we closed in December, right around Christmas time. I remember it crashed back down to, still above $1, I think, on that trading day. And then I think by the end of the trading day, actually, it was like at 50 or 60 cents or 50 or 60 bucks, the equivalent. So it had dropped all the way back down to where it is right now. But this is the volatility long term that you can see and the gaps that are still needing filled on the chart. So $300 a share would be what? Let's just call it 3 to 5 billion for Tonix, right? $400 a share. There's even higher. This traded a lot higher, but post split and everything. If you zoom in on the actual chart, as of recently though, you'll see. This is kind of it looks like it's a flatline chart. It's not the best representation when you zoom in, but nonetheless, we can maybe switch to a different type of chart on TradingView. I do like TradingView. If you're interested, this is the service I use for a lot of charts. Sometimes their charts come up better than others, though. This is not the best way to represent the price action, I don't think. But, you have all these candles right here. You can kind of play around with it. And, yeah, let's go with not a bar chart. Anyway, that's TradingView right there. Check it out. Like I said, guys, expect pretty much anything tomorrow. You see how we jumped up in the post market. Could we hit 80 or $100? I've seen people saying in the comments, I think I'm going to hold till 150. Still a pretty good jump in the price. Do we get that 10x? Do we get that parabolic move? Anything's possible, but set your profit targets, right? Set a reasonable goal that you feel comfortable with based upon your risk tolerance and investing goals, because ultimately it's going to be different for everybody. I can't sit here and tell you should sell at this price because you might feel comfortable. It's only a couple percentage points of your portfolio. You might want to hold for the big kahuna, the potential 10x in the share price from, let's just say from a $450 million market cap to a $4.5 billion market cap. Is that unreasonable? As Tonix is really the only significant treatment here, 4.4 billion it's saying by 2034. But they're saying specifically that this is interesting, that the AI overview says it will actually boost market expansion. What do you guys think of that? So could we be talking a fibromyalgia treatment market that is not just 3 to 5 billion or 4 billion or whatever, but more like 7 to 10 billion, and maybe these are underestimating what the growth could be and what we could see here before too long. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. What is your plan now that the news that we were expecting and that it was approved and it was the news, thankfully, that shareholders were seeking? What is your plan now that Tonix Pharmaceuticals has had this news come out? What do you plan on doing? Do you still own shares? Have you ever owned shares? Are you going to buy some shares perhaps? Or are you planning on selling some this week? Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Thank you so much for tuning in once again, and have a great rest of your Sunday out there. Take care, everybody.